Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Irwin. How are you?
Baruch Hashem.
Good. Oh, yesterday's daf was a long daf.
Yep. Thank God for Art Scroll.
Yeah, you're right. I'd still be on page 1. All right, let's see.
Can you imagine if you had this when you were going to school?
No. Oh, yeah. Well, lucky I had it when I did the daf the first time. That was a story. I got to tell you a cute story. Well, maybe one of these days I'll tell you the story afterward. Oh, boss is here. Watch out.
Yep.
I heard laughing. I want to hear the joke.
The big joke is we're not in school anymore.
It's not so funny. Sad.
What can I tell you? All the grandchildren are saying, "Oh, come on, we got to go back to school already."
Can you imagine?
Anything to get rid of you.
They've had enough.
They're bored.
They had enough of classroom. Well, one of them has 6 hours of class,
Yeah.
including gym.
Huh? I need the gym open here. I miss my gym.
27th, it's opening up.
When I see it, I'll believe it.
Oh, okay. Problem is, people will take advantage and they'll do something, stupid, and then they'll close it down again.
That's what they're hoping for.
They're not hoping. They're counting on it.
So, if there's nothing else funny, I have to go daven. It's Rosh Chodesh. Did you remember Rosh Chodesh?
Yes. In fact,
Good boy.
my wife is going to Zoom at 9 o'clock. There's a Zoom meeting at 9 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God, bright and early. Look at this. It says rain all day. Oh,
That's what they said.
Morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Everybody, a good Moed as well, a good Rosh Chodesh as well.
Right. Chodesh Tov.
Okay. We're going to get started momentarily. I hope everybody had a chance to go over Shabbos's daf. Okay, again, it was what? Long?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But again, it dealt with the issue of measurements, various items, carrying into the question of the reshus from one to another. We're going to pick up today, in a moment, on, I'd like us to start on Ayin Chet, Amud Beis, okay, about 10 lines up from the bottom. Okay, it's a Braita, Tanu Rabbanan. Okay, starts at the beginning of the line. Okay, so I figured that's a good place to pick up and indicate that if you haven't switched to a second volume of Shabbos yet, I don't know offhand what Art Scrolls, I don't have it handy, but may have to have switched already. Okay? All right, so we'll get it underway. Yeah. Okay, Tanu Rabbanan says a Braita. Hamotzi shtar chov ad shelo parao. Okay, one who carries out, let's call it a note of debt, right? In the morning, okay? What happens if he does so, carrying it on Shabbat into another domain? Chayav, he's right. Mishe paro. Once, however, he has paid the debt, and therefore the note of debt is no longer a really significant or valid document, patur, then he's exempt. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, af mishapar o chayav, even after he's paid off the debt, he could be considered chayav. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda holds that the person still needs to hold on to that note of debt. Why might that be the case? The Gemara tells us, "My benaihu." What's the difference between Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda's view? Ma Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, asur lishot shtar parua ika benaihu. The question of whether it's forbidden to retain this note of debt, okay, is between them. Remember, the whole idea was if I owed Harvey money, okay, and I paid him back, then either he is supposed to tear up the note or he's supposed to give me a receipt, right? If I have a receipt, that's fine, okay? I can always show if somebody else, if he were to lose the note, I could always show it, the receipt, to somebody else. But let's say he kept the note and did not give me a receipt, okay? And years later, his heirs present this note. And they say, hey, see, Rabbi Green owes our father X amount of money. And we have no proof that it was ever paid back. Have to go to Beis Din, all of that. Okay? So that seems to be the point in the Gemara. So that the Rabbi Yehuda is saying one might still need, okay, the question of holding on to it. Ika beinayu. Rabbanan savrei asur lashod shtar parua. Excuse me, the rabbis are saying it's forbidden to retain this note of debt. For Rabbi Yehuda savar mutar lashod shtar parua. And Rabbi Yehuda says it's acceptable to hold on to it. Why? Okay, we're going to see. Okay, Abaye Amar, the Kuli Alma Asur Lishot Shtar Parua. According to Abaye, everybody is in agreement that it is forbidden to retain, okay, hold on to this document of note of debt. Okay, Bahacha, and here, in our case, what are we talking about? B'moreh b'shtar shektavo. Okay, shetzarich l'kaimo, and I'm going to put in the words here, b'beit din. Okay, that namely, okay, here we're talking about a situation where he says, I'm aware that this note of debt was written, and we have to bring it to the court in order to ascertain its status. Kimiflage. That's what they're really arguing about. Namely, Tanakama Savar Modeh B'shtar Shektavo Tzrich L'kaimo. That the Mishnah, the Tanakama, holds that he acknowledges, everyone does, that the note of debt was written, but you still have to bring it to a Beis Din to clarify its status. The Rabbi Yehuda Savar, says Rabbi Yehuda, Modeh b'shtar shektavo ein sarich l'kaimo. and that Rabbi Yehuda holds, okay, well, everyone agrees that the document was written. Nevertheless, one doesn't have to necessarily bring it to the Beis Din in order to clarify its status. So Gemara now is going to ask here, Umai ad shelo para'o umisha par'o. And what do we mean when we say that it wasn't confirmed, or it wasn't settled, or it was settled? Let's go on to Ayin Tet, which is today's daf, right? Ad shomar lo ve parati, until the one who debtor says that it was settled, velo parati, or he says it wasn't settled. Now, Rava amar de kuli alma modeh b'shtar shektavo shetzarich lekaimo. Rava disagrees and says, no, everybody is in agreement that, okay, the following, that then when they acknowledge that this note of debt was written, it does have to be settled at the Beis Din. V'hacha b'kodvin shovar kemiflagei. And here we're talking about a situation where a receipt is written. That's where they're arguing about. Tanakama savar kodvin shovar. The Tanakama says that the person who made the loan, when he gets paid back, must write a receipt to the debtor. The Rabbi Yehuda savar ein kotvin shovar, and Rabbi Yehuda says one doesn't have to write a receipt. Right? Rav Ashi amar mepnei shetzarich laharoto lebal chov sheni. Rav Ashi explains it slightly differently, that the question of holding on to the document is perhaps he has to be able to show it to a different debtor. Okay, maybe it's the heirs of the original creditor. Okay, the amarle chazi gavra de para ana. Okay, because he says, look, I am a person who repays my debts. Okay, I'm good for it. Another explanation might be that he must show it to some sort of Roman authority, okay, a tax collector or something like that. Okay, all right. Let's go on now to a new piece from our Mishnah, right? The Mishnah, again, remember, gave us a number of measurements, okay? Once more, that it said that the person would be chayav if he carried something into the new domain on Shabbat. And the example the Mishnah gave, okay, after the cord, it said, right? And after other things, where it, okay, where it said an amount of leather to be used for an amulet, okay? And that's what we're dealing with here. Or kadei la'asot, all right, it's the leather piece of to make into an amulet. By mine Rabba me Rav Nachman. And Rabba asked Rav Nachman the following: Hamotzi or bakama, one who carries out this piece of leather, this amount of leather on Shabbat from one domain to another. How much leather are we talking about? What's the measure? Amarle, as he said, Keditznan, as taught in our Mishnah, or Kedei Lasot Kamiya. Okay, enough leather to make an amulet. Hama'avdo Bekama. So the Gemara asks here, what about if somebody has worked the leather? In other words, if he's dyed it or he's put chemicals on it. Okay, how much then? Amarle lo shana. He said there's no difference here. Okay, la'avdo. What about if he did other kind of work on the leather? Okay, and in this case, the that may be that the leather is not suitable for an amulet, right? Bekama, how much? Amale lo shana. Again, he says there is no difference. Okay? Umana temra. Okay, and when you say this, what do we say? Keditnan. It's like we learned elsewhere. Okay, in a Mishnah. Hamilavein, one who sort of whitens or bleaches wool. Vahamanafetz, and one who sort of combs wool. Vahatsovea, and one who dyes wool. Vahatoveh, and one who spins wool. Okay. Shiuro, Kimalei Rochav, Hasit Kafu. And its measurement is equal to that of two threads that are on a spoon, okay? The item, the forefinger, okay? Right, an amount on the spoon of the loom, of the thread, twice that. V'ha'oreg, and one who embroiders with it or weaves with it. Shtei chutin, again, those are two threads. Shiya'oro, that its measurement. Kimelo rochav hasit kaful, that it's equal to the twice the distance between one's forefinger and one's middle finger. Okay? Alma, therefore, kevan de letviyah. Okay, since we're talking then about the work of washing or whitening, etc., all of these things, or spinning, right? Right? All of these items, kaisha ura ketuvai. They're all similar to the same measurement that we say for weaving. Hachanami, right here too. Kevan de la avdo kai. Even though we're talking about taking this piece of leather and working it, right? Shiuro kimuvad. Therefore, its measurement, the quantity by which one would be over carrying into the domain, another domain, is the same, regardless of whether it's worked or not. V'shelo la'avdo bekama. So what's the question the Gemara asks is, what about if it wasn't worked, if it wasn't dressed and things like that? Amarle lo shana. Again, he responds, there is no difference. Okay? V'lo shana bein ha'me'ubad l'she'eno me'ubad. And that there is no difference between whether that piece of leather has been, call it dressed, worked or not worked. ATV. Okay? So that's the question now. Really? There's no difference, asks the Gemara? ATV. I'll challenge that with the following braita, says the Gemara. Hamotzi simanin shruyin. Okay? In this case, we're talking about one who carries out herbs that have been dried in such a way to, in other words, to produce, be able to produce dyes, okay, for wool, right? Simanin shu'in, kadei litzboa bahen, dugma la'ira, okay? It's enough wool, enough plants to have been worked, or ground, whatever, to produce dyes in order to basically, I would say, to dye a sample, okay, of wool, okay? And so the Gemara then says, la'era, okay, if it's been dissolved, ve'ilu b'samanim she'ein shruyim, okay? But these are dyes that we've learned that, in a sense, don't need work, right? They don't need extra effort. She'enan shruyim, okay, they're not dissolved, if you will. Tanan, why? Because we're taught in the Mishnah, klipe egozim, klipe rimonim. if we've got shells from nuts and shells from pomegranates, satis, or we have shells from a plant, like a woad plant that produces a blue dye, upua, or a madder plant that produces a red dye, kadei letzboa bahen beged katan, excuse me, enough to dye a small piece of cloth, right? The pi sivacha. In other words, it's enough to dye a piece of cloth that's going to go on top of a woman's hairnet or a woman's head covering. Okay. Ha-itmar Allah. About these, it was saying the following. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rava bar Abuha, Lafi she'ein Adam, Torech l'shrot simanim, litzboa behen dugma la'era. Okay. That we normally don't find a person going to all the effort in order to crush and dissolve these herbs in order to produce the dye, to make such a small sample, okay, for such a small piece of cloth, okay? So the Gemara then says, V'harei zar'onei gina demekame tezar'inhu, okay? But maybe we're talking about seeds, okay, that we've taken from these plants, all right? And they've come from the garden, and before they were sown, one decided to use those kinds of seeds to produce the dye, okay? Tznan, says the Gemara, before they were planted. Tznan, says our Mishnah, Zarone gina pachot mikra kigo yeret. That even if he took a bunch of seeds to grind it up to produce something that would result in the dye, the total number of seeds would still be less than a dried fig bulk, which would therefore mean that the person would not be chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera Omer Chamisha. He says, how many seeds are we talking about? Probably, say 5, he says. Ve'ilu batar dezarinhu. Okay, and that's usually after, okay, the sides have been sown, and then they would be the size of a dried fig. Tznan. However, again, we learn in another Mishnah, okay, zevel, manure, okay, v'chol hadak, and okay, thin sand, okay, kedei zavel bo kileach shel kruv. If one were to carry out manure or thin sand in the quantity in order to fertilize a single stalk of cabbage, divrei Rabbi Akiva, then the Rabbi Akiva would feel the person is chayav by transferring that on Shabbat and from one domain to another. The Chachamim omrim kadei lezavel krisha, but the sages say it has to be enough fertilizer in order to fertilize a leek plant. Okay. Now, all right. What's the difference here? Okay, is the fact that okay, that's a different standard. It's a different amount. Okay, ha'itmar Allah, and on this particular machloket, the following was stated: Amar Rav Papa, ha de Zaria, ha de lo Zaria. Okay, in one case, we're talking about seeds were sown. In another case, we're talking about seeds that were not planted, were not sown. Hadelo zaria, the fisha ein adam toreach, lahotzini ma echat lazria. Why, says Rav Papa? Because again, a person is not going to trouble himself to carry out a single seed, okay, for the purpose of planting. V'harei tit the mekame le but, says the Gemara, what about a different example? Say, what about clay, right? Before it was being carried out to be kneaded in order to make mortar, okay? Right? Because before that's done. Tanya, we learn in a Braita, Modim Chachamim LeRabbi Shimon, that the sages agree with Rabbi Shimon, B'motzi Shofchim Reshut HaRabim, that one who carries out wastewater into the public domain, Sheshiuran B'Revi'it, that the minimum measure which one would be over, okay, would be a revis. V'havinan ba, and on this we had the following discussion. Shofchim l'mai chazu, wastewater, what is it suitable for? V'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, says Rabbi Yirmiyah, the gabel bahen et hatit, in order to knead the clay. Ve'ilu batar the gable, but if it was after, okay, the clay was done, after it was mixed, right? Tanya, we learned in another Braita, tit kedei la'asod behen pikur, that it's enough clay in order to make a covering for the hole in a bellows, okay, where the bellows will fit in, okay, to a utensil that could be used for increasing heat for certain craftsmen, right? Hatam nami kida amran lafisha ena dam torech bahem legabel et atit la'asod bo pikur. But here too, we might say that maybe a person is not going to go to all the effort in order to knead that much clay to produce the mortar to cover a hole, okay, in the utensil for where the bellows would enter. Okay. Now, we go to another Braita. Tashma. Okay. That utensil, by the way, was, some would call it like a smelting pot, okay, that, let's say, a craftsman that was making jewelry would need to melt gold or some things like that. And therefore he would have to have the bellows to increase the heat in order to melt that items. Okay. Tashma, listen to the following Braita. The Amar Rabbi Chia Bar Ami Mishmei De'ula. That Rabbi Chia Bar Ami is saying in the name of Ula. Right? And since we discussed hides, okay, the Gemara is going to go into this in a little bit more detail. Okay? Shlosha orotein. There are three kinds of hides, right? Matzah, one is we'll call matzah, another we'll call chefa, right? And a third we'll call diptera, right? And the Gemara is going to clarify that definition for us, okay? Like matzah, like unleavened, flat, right? What does it tell us? Matzah kimashma'o delo maliach, right? It's like we said, right? It's like we understand it, and flat, right? It doesn't have, it's not salted, udelo kamiach, and no flour has been put on it, udelo afitz, okay? And also we say that there's no gall nuts applied to it. The kama shiuro, okay? And what would be the measurement of that? Tani Rabbi Ishmael Bar Yehuda, he says, Kadei latsur bo mishkalot katana. Okay, enough to wrap up a small package. Okay, think of that piece of leather like a bubble wrap, okay? That would wrap something around, okay? The comma, and how much would that be? Amar Abaye, Riva, the Riva, a quarter of a liter. Okay, de Pompadita, as found in the city of Pompadita. Okay, what's the second variety? Chepa, okay, is the second. The maliach, that's salted. Velo kamiach, but it's not have flour. Velo afitz, and does not apply any gallnut. Right? The kama shiro, and what's its measure? Kiditnan is taught elsewhere in a Mishnah, or kadei la'asot kamiya, enough leather in order to make an amulet. Diftara, okay, which we said is the third kind of hide, right? The maliach, which is salted. The kamiach, it has flour put on it. Velo afitz, but no gallnut has been applied to it. Okay, the kama shiro, and how much is its measure? That's right. Kadei lechtov alav et haget, a piece of leather large enough in order to write a get on it. Katani mihat, nevertheless, says the Gemara, it was taught, all right, kadei letzur bo mishkalot katana. Otherwise, we have it it's enough to wrap up a small package, which would certainly be smaller than a piece large enough to write a get. Okay, so it seems to be contradictory. Va'amar Abaye, says Abaye, Riva de Pompadita. Okay, he says there it's again a quarter of a liter as defined in Pompadita. Hatam bet bishula. There, okay, we're talking about a hide that was, I'll use the word cooked, but what it really means is that the hide is wet, okay? And it's put out in the sun to dry, and therefore really it sort of shrinks, and that's why it's suitable for wrapping a weight. All right, that's the difference. Vahatnan, but aren't we taught elsewhere? Habet shlosha al shlosha lemidras. Aren't we taught that in another Mishnah, that in regards to Tuma, what do we consider a valid piece of cloth, its measurement, okay, to be Makabel Tuma? If it's cloth, a garment, it's 3 by 3 for Tumas Midras, okay, for the Tuma of treading, of contact, right? Hasak, if it's a piece of sackcloth, Arba al Arba, 4 by 4. Ha'or, Chamesh al Chamesh. If it's a piece of leather, it's 5 by 5. Okay, Mafatz, if it's a reed mat, okay, 6 by 6. Sheish al Sheish. Bein lemidras, bein lemeit. Regardless if it's tuma because of midras, of pressure put on it, or because of contact with a dead body. Uta'ane Allah, right? And it was taught about this. Habeged vahasak, the garment, the cloth garment, and the sackcloth. Vahaor, and that of the leather. Kishiur latuma, kakshiur lahotza. The same way that measurement is applicable for it being susceptible to tuma, so too, that's the measurement that we say one would be over in terms of carrying it from one domain to another. Okay? Hahu berkur tuvla, he says. There we're talking about some sort of hide that's been treated, okay, so that it is large enough to be used as either a kind of small saddle or a cover on a bed or a couch or a divan. Okay, so it's a different standard, okay, than that which we said would be used for wrapping items. Okay, let's go on now. Cloth, okay, we have though now another variety of a piece of leather. Kedei lichtov alav parsha ktana. Okay, and one would be over again on the cloth on this kind of parchment. Okay, in order to write the smallest portion for tefillin, or minhu, but we'll challenge this with the following. Okay, klaf v'duch sustus kedei lichtov alav mezuzah. Don't we say though that a piece of parchment or another kind of leather, duxustus, okay, which was a sort of an inferior kind of parchment, right? Enough to write on it a mezuzah. My mezuzah. What do we mean here when we say mezuzah? Mezuzah shebet tefillin. What we're talking about is a piece of parchment that is large enough, okay, to be able to write on it, okay? All right, so remember that the size, if you ever seen inside tefillin, the size of the piece of parchment is long, but it's very narrow, whereas in mezuzah, the piece of parchment is not long, but it's quite usually much long, length is probably taller. Okay, the kari lahol tefillin, but we're calling this tefillin mezuzah. Are we calling tefillin mezuzah? And yes, he says, in a way. Vahatanya. Why? Because we learn elsewhere in a braita. Ritzuot tefillin im hatfillin mitamot et hayadayim. That the straps, when they're on the tefillin, okay, can convey tuma. B'fnei atzman, but if the straps are by themselves, ein mitamot et hayadayim. They don't convey any tuma whatsoever. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Shimon, sorry, says in the name of Rabbi Shimon, Hanogeya b'ritzuat tahor, ad sheyagia b'ketzitza. Okay, that according to Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, in the name of Rabbi Shimon, one who handles the strap, okay, would be tahor, unless he reaches the point that he touches the box itself. Okay, Rabbi Zakkai Mishmo Omer. Rabbi Zakkai said in his name, tahor ad sheyiga b'mezuzah atzma. And he clarifies it, okay, that one is tahor until he touches the actual, let's call it the container, the box itself. Okay, Baha midikatani sefer, but here, since it's taught at the end of our text, klaf kedei lechtov alav parsha ktana shebet tefillin, that it's a piece of parchment, that it's enough that one can write the smallest section of the Shema on it, shehi Shema Yisrael, that's the Shema and V'ahavta. Miklal dereisha b'mezuzah atzma askina. That must be then that at the beginning of our text, of our braita, we're actually talking about an actual mezuzah, where the piece of parchment is larger. Hachi katani. Says this is what we're teaching. Klaf v'duch sostos, the good quality parchment and lesser parchment. Shiuran bekama. What is its measurement? Right? Duch sustos kedei lechtov alav mezuzah. Lesser quality parchment, enough so that one can write a mezuzah on it. Klaf kedei lechtov alav parsha ktana shebet tefillin shehi Shema Yisrael. And the klaf, good quality parchment, enough so that one could write the smallest section that goes into a tefillin, which is the Shema Yisrael. Okay? Okay, now let's go on with the following. Okay? we're going to get now into more discussion of this business of the parchment for Shema, parchment for Tefillin and Mezuzah. Okay? Amar Rav says as follows: Duch sustus harehi keklaf. That the lesser quality parchment, it's really the same as good quality parchment. Ma klaf kodvina lav tefillin. The same way on parchment one can write tefillin. Af duchsustus kodvina lav tefillin. So likewise on duchsustus we can write tefillin. Tznan. However, we have a Mishnah that teaches as follows: Klaf kedei lechtov parsha ktana shebetefillin shehi Shema Yisrael. Klaf ein duchsustus lo. Okay, that parchment. Okay, we're talking about the amount to write a smaller section for tefillin, the Shema Yisrael. Yes, that's parchment, but one should not be using duchsustus for that. Le mitzvah. We're talking about actually for the sake of the mitzvah. All right. Ideally, l'shem mitzvah, for better, you should write it only on klaf. But that doesn't mean that it's prohibited to use the lesser quality duchsustus. Tashma. Listen to the following braita. Halacha leMoshe miSinai. It's a law to Moses at Sinai. Tefillin al haklaf. Okay, that tefillin should be written on good quality parchment. Mezuzah al duchsustus, and a mezuzah on lesser quality parchment. Klaf b'makom basar. Now we have a clarification. Good quality parchment is the side of this animal hide that's toward the meat. Duchsustus b'makom se'ar. Okay? The lesser quality parchment is the side towards the hair. Le mitzvah, for the purpose of mitzvah. B'hatanya. And aren't we taught in a braita again? Shena. Okay? Here again, we're talking about the fact that if one, okay, changed it, all right, pasul, it would seem to be not valid. Mezuzah. Here we're talking, though, really on the mezuzah, the hatanya. But here again, aren't we taught in a braita? Shina bazeh ubazeh pasul, that if one changed it from one to another, it's invalid. So the Gemara, idi ve'idi amezuzah. Both this and this, we're dealing with the mezuzah. Vaha, the ktiv vinhu aklaf b'makom se'ar. And here, we're talking about a situation where he wrote it on klaf, on good quality parchment, towards the side that was towards the facing the hair. Okay? Inami, if that's the case, adechsustus b'makom basar, then true, it should be appropriate to write it on lesser quality parchment that's toward the meat, the skin, right? V'ibayat ema, and I will ask, nevertheless, as follows. Okay? Shina bazeh ubazeh, Tanai. If he changed one for the other, is this not a machloket Tanaim? The Tanya is taught in a braita, Shina bazeh ubazeh pasul, that if he changed from one to another, it is invalid. Rabbi, aha, machshir. Right? On the other hand, we see that Rabbi seems to say that it's valid. Mishum Rabbi Achai Bar Chanina. Okay? Okay, because on the authority of Rabbi Achai, all right, Bar Chanina. Va'amre la Mishum Rabbi Yaakov Bar Chanina. And others say it was the authority of Rabbi Yaakov Bar Chanina. Okay. Now, Rav Papa Amar, says Rav Papa, Rav, the Amar Ketana de Ben Menashe. Rav Papa says, no, Rav gave his psak based on a Tana in the academy of Rav Menashe. The Tana de Ben Menashe, because it was taught in the academy of Ben Menashe, Kadva al Haniyar, that if one wrote it on paper, Va'al Hamatlit, or one wrote it on a piece of cloth, Psula, then it is invalid. Al Haklaf, but if he wrote it on parchment, the Al Hagvil, or in parchment that was treated with gallnuts, Va'al Haduchsustus, or on lesser quality parchment, Kshera, then it is valid. So the Gemara asks, Kadva, Mai? If he wrote it, what? What are we talking about? Ilema mezuzah, if we're talking about a mezuzah written on, let's say, klaf, mezuzah aklaf, mikatvinen, does one really usually write a mezuzah on klaf, on good quality parchment? Ela lav tefillin. No, aren't we then talking about tefillin? Ulata'amayich. And according to your line of reasoning, tefillin agavil mikatvinen. And even in that case, do we say that one writes tefillin on parchment that has been treated with gallnuts? Ella rather, kitanya hahi b'sefer Torah. But rather that must be referring to the example of a Torah scroll. Continuing, let's go on. Lema, Messiah le, shall we say that this supports the view of Rav, Kiyotsebo, as what he was saying there previously? Tefillin shebalu. What about tefillin that became worn, right? The Sefer Torah Shabbalah, or a Sefer Torah that has become worn, right? Okay, worn out, right? Ein osin mehen mezuzah. One may not make a mezuzah out of them. Lefi she'ein moridin mikdusha chamura mikdusha kala, because we don't, let's say, debase or lower something from a higher sanctity to a lower sanctity. Tama, why? What's the reasoning? The ein moridin, that we don't bring down. Ha moridin. But wait, I can give you an example where we do lower. Okay? Osin. Okay? Dichtiva amai. Okay? Right? Why? Because we say the following, written about what? Love dictiva aduch sustus. Is it not a situation where we said you could write something on the lower, lesser parchment? No, says the Gemara. Dictiva al haklaf. Okay? No, we're talking about something written on parchment. Mezuzah aklaf mikatvinan. And do we say again that one normally writes mezuzah on good quality parchment? And yes, says the Gemara, vahatanya. And isn't it not taught elsewhere in a Braita? Right? Kadva al haklaf. It's written on parchment. Va'al haniyar, or on paper. Va'al hamatlit, and on matlit we said was again cloth, right? Sula, it's invalid. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Rabbi Meir haya kodva al haklaf. Rabbi Meir, okay, used to write a mezuzah on good quality parchment, mepi shemishtameret, because it's well preserved, it's well kept, it keeps better. Hashta da atid lahachi. And now that you've arrived at this point, at this conclusion, so to speak, the Rav Nami, for Rav also, maybe that's applicable. Lo tema duxustus harehu kuklav. We don't have to say, namely, that duxustus is exactly the same as klaf, as good quality parchment, ve'ela, but rather, ema klaf harehu keduxustus. But we could say that the klaf, good quality parchment, is similar to duxustus. Namely, ma duxustus kotvin alav mezuzah, the same way that one can write a mezuzah, okay, that can take lesser quality, okay, parchment and write it on it a mezuzah. Afklaf kodvin alav mezuzah. So likewise, on good quality parchment, one can write a mezuzah as well. Okay, and that's where we're going to stop today, because the next piece, okay, goes into a new topic about the from our Mishnah, namely the question of ink being taken out. Okay, what was the measurement of ink? And that's Amud Pei, okay, which is the right, which is for Monday. So everybody stay well, have a good day, and hope you'll have a chance to listen to some of the other shiurim this week, particularly in anticipation of Shavuos, and especially the siyum on Thursday at 11, the siyum and the Yizkor, and also reading of Megillas Ruth.
We didn't learn anything.
All
Okay.
right, take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Robert. I have no picture, I don't know.